One of the biggest issues that's rampant amongst so many people in America, in England, all over the world, even in Eretz Yisrael, unfortunately, is the issue of loneliness. The issue of loneliness takes a number of different shapes, has a different flavors and textures to it. Sometimes people may think, loneliness is physical. I'm not physically close to somebody else. However, it's a lot deeper than that. It's interesting that there's social media and people may have thousands of friends on social media. But when they're asked if they're lonely or not, they'll say they're lonely. And it's something that we should think about and we should learn to navigate. We can suggest for now there are three sorts of loneliness. There's an existential loneliness, and from an existential perspective, a little bit of this existential loneliness is good for you. It's good for the soul. It's an inevitable part. It's an inevitable part of the human experience. And loneliness, used as a word, can tend to stir up negative feelings. However, having a sense of self and this existential loneliness to a certain degree is healthy. I'm a human being. There's parts of me that I will never ever have the ability to share. And that's okay, because it pushes us along to improve our communication. It pushes us along in developing intimate relationships. This is how you can get to know somebody forever and still uncover different dimensions of who and what they are. This is existential loneliness. A second sort of loneliness that we can describe is an emotional loneliness. This sort of loneliness can arise from a feeling that a person lacks a healthy relationship or an attachment to somebody else. A person might experience emotional loneliness when everyone but them has deep, intimate relationships. Emotional loneliness can be felt when a person is not seen or heard, when a person doesn't feel safe, or when a person doesn't feel satisfied in a relationship. It's very painful, and unfortunately there's a lot of that as well. There's another form of loneliness as well, which is a social loneliness. This type of loneliness occurs when a person doesn't have a sense of belonging. They're not part of a group beyond themselves. People may feel a social loneliness, even if they're in a deep relationship with somebody. They may have a few friends, a friend or two, but they don't fit. They feel they don't fit. A person needs to have that wider circle of friends, a community that they belong to. And this is something really important. Sometimes a person may have a healthy social world, and they can live like that for some time and not have necessarily the deep, intimate relationship. But what we can suggest is that we do need all three. We need all three. We need to feel a little bit of the existential loneliness. That's okay. Emotional loneliness. We need to have those deep, long-term, nutritious, intimate relationships. And we have to have a social sense of belonging. And when we have an understanding, a grasp on these three areas of life, we feel more fulfilled. When, for example, from a social perspective, whether it's to do with work, having acquaintances at work, a community. I have that. That's really important. To have those people who can support me, those people who can, I can chill with, hang out with. That's really important. And then to have those deep emotional bonds, 1 or 2, 3 close people who you allow them to get to know you deeply, and you give them the gift of getting to know them deeply. Remember, as we said, all human beings, we all want to be seen and heard. We want to have consistency and feel safe in relationship, and we want to be satisfied in relationship, having fun. And as we said, the existential loneliness, the recognition that I'm so deep and there's so much of me that I don't know about myself. So when you have a healthy expression of that, then your emotional, deep, intimate relationships will always flourish and grow. And hopefully we will spend proper time on our social relationships as well. I'd like to add, on a certain respect, when we speak about loneliness really, on a certain respect, is a state of mind. Why? Because at the end of the day, we have to choose to make that move. We have to know ourselves. We have to choose to make that move. And we have to understand, what are my wants and needs? For example, you can have somebody who, they live by themselves. They're happy to be by themselves. And they don't need so much interaction. So they should, in a healthy way for them, work with who and what they are. But sometimes you can have a person who, they can have all the friends in the world, but they still feel they're missing something. Maybe they don't have those few good friends and they need them. Maybe a person has but a few close friends, yet they don't have the social, the social connection. And maybe they're okay with that. So what we're saying, we're just sharing here that there is this something called loneliness. And loneliness, it's a state of awareness that you need to develop to overcome loneliness, to know your wants and needs, and to figure out, okay, social connection, emotional connection, and the connection with self. So I would advise us for the next couple of days, think about your lives. Do I have those few close friends in my life? Do I have those acquaintances in my life? Do I have a social life, community, friends, a sense of belonging? Think about it, do something about it, enrich in your lives.